Hey everybody. I'm in Baltimore right now. That's why the background is different. As we talk about transitions and transformations, I have been back and forth between here and Baltimore in the last couple of months, weeks, but like over the course of January, February. So this is a very important topic for me right now because I am in the midst of so many transformations and transitions. So, like, also this new background is part of my own personal transition. So that's that. We have Krista. Oh, I like your glasses, girl.
Thank you. They're old and they're on my face anyway.
I feel that. Where are my glasses?
I was doing a lot of this at the computer yesterday, a lot of looking
Same.
at this, and I was like, maybe I should put some glasses on.
I
So,
feel you. You want to introduce yourselves?
yes, I am Kristen Iris, aka the Taino Queen. This is not a Taino symbol. I'm just using my hands in fancy ways. And I am here.
You are here. That is a true statement.
I am here.
Uh,
Introduction complete.
um, I am Lady T, the Black Teen Marie, your favorite up and coming auntie. Look at this situation right here.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling
Getting
it.
getting my auntie game down pat. Okay. So yes, today, as it says in the description, we're going to be talking about transitions and transformations, um, particularly in the pursuit of our own Black excellence.
Ooh.
Um, what she said. So here we are. I feel like today will be much more Q&A because it's it seems like real simple. It's like, oh, transformations, transitions, like whatever. But in actuality, that's real big shit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as creatures of habit, we're not, and by creatures of habit, I mean humans.
Yes.
Humans are creatures of habit, not you specifically, not any particular person. Be like, I like doing things wild. I like time. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying as human beings who are creatures of habit and who neurologically and in a sense of survival like to stay in our comfort zones, and we're not necessarily so good at transitions.
Heard, called out, attacked, anything, all of it. There you go. Just this
It's
just a little
okay.
bit.
Feel your feelings. Feel your feelings.
What are feelings? That's crazy that you would say that. I don't know what that is. Um, yes. And I feel like for some of us are more go with the flow just in general. Like I am a person that has always kind of thrived in chaos. Thank God, because life is what it's been. So like changes and being adaptable or being adaptable and flexible and all those things are like particular strengths of mine. Whereas for some people, like the
Like me.
fear of
Like me, who likes
the,
structure and likes to know what's going to happen and how we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. I've had to
it's a
learn
lot
how to
less
get used
fun.
to, yeah, it's a lot less fun. It's a lot more stress. But I've had to learn how to like be like, okay, let's flow.
Let's
Let's
flow. Let's
flow.
flow. No,
Let's
flowing is
flow.
fine. It's fine. This doesn't
Yeah,
bother me at all. I'm fine.
it's fine.
And I'm like,
I feel totally,
woo!
totally comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel totally uncomfortable.
So, okay. So let's talk about that. Let's discuss. Let's deep dive. Um, when it comes to I know like right now I am in transition. Like I personally feel like I am in transition. I am in transformation. I am cocooning right now.
Okay, yeah, I dig it.
So it's a lot at once, which I don't enjoy. But as somebody who is relatively used to it, and those of you watching, if you want to throw in your comments, your questions, your concerns, if you'd like to speak to management, go ahead and type that in as well. But for me, like, I have a way to get through this because this is my life. I just put my head down and just like barrel through it. And whenever I look up, I'm like, all right, this is where I'm at. This is what I got to figure out. As a person who is used to structure and not really with the shits when it comes to all of this like free ball and shit the rest of us are doing, how do you manage that? Like from a stress level, from an actual calendar level, like what does that look like for you?
Gosh. Well, it looks like one, planning the things that I can plan. So it's like as things shift, being like, okay, need to recalibrate. What do I need to move? So like, for example, and this is like a almost like a smaller scale thing, but like my calendar, you know, I plan my week out. Typically I plan my week out like in detail, and it never goes the way that it's supposed to, because things always take longer than they need to, and that's fine because now I know. But it's like then I'm just constantly moving things around, you know. So I'm just like, all right, so I didn't get this today, I can do this other day, and I restructure. But I also have a structure to my day. So like you said, you're in this transition phase right now. I feel like the last 2 years and then this year are really important, like landmarks for me. Like 2017 felt like I was transitioning out of the life that I was living. You know, the people I was hanging out with, the things I was doing, even where I was living, because I was traveling for like half-ish of that year before I had to come back for medical reasons. And then last year, so that was sort of like the moving out of it, the like, I'm trying to get out of it. And then last year was definitely like major transition cocoon time where I was like, shit. there was just a lot. Okay. And there was a lot of like figuring things out, and like, this is what I thought I was doing in my transition out of my old life, and being like, oh, I'm actually not transitioning out in that way. I'm transitioning in this way. And like every area of my life was shifting, and to now where I'm even like the things that I'm pursuing are different. And then this year feels like, okay, I'm actually stepping into those things. Like I'm stepping into film production. I'm stepping bigger into coaching. My podcast has come back. Like I have plans like with like a boy, you know, and I have not had plans with a boy in a really like life plans with a boy in like a really, really long time. So that's weird.
Say that.
So I think I've learned, it took time, but I'm learning to trust the timing and trust myself. So it's something I'm getting better at. But because I am so organized, being able to adjust, like now if something throws me off, it's not like, oh my God, what the fuck? It's just like, all right, cool. Glad I'm organized because I can move these things around, you know? Yeah. So for me, being organized helps. And then also, you know, having a structure to my day and having in place ways that I like to de-stress or take care of myself, and just give, like, I'm an introvert, so giving myself me time. Like I have to have me time, and me time is not me sitting at the computer doing work time. It's me actually being like, let me read, or let me journal, or journaling is big. Or sometimes it might be, let me just like lay here for an hour and think. So I think having those things, that having that space and a little bit of structure at least to around your day or to decompress, because then when you have some structure, you can move the pieces around. It's a really long answer.
I mean, no, it's real, because I have had to learn the value of, because when I was younger, I'd be able to hold stuff in my head, even though like executive function was still not a thing that I could, but I could at least hold things in my head. And now on this side of 30, like I can't. And it's like, there's not even a point in trying to like fool myself about it. So knowing what I have to get done today helps. One, it helps manages my anxiety. And it just, like you said, instead of being like, holy shit, I had this plan and now it's different and it's changed, it's easier to be like, all right, well, this took longer than it needed to, so I can like play with stuff a little bit more instead of just being like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing at all. So no, a long answer is a real answer. I feel like I have been in transition for at least like including this part of 2019. Happy March 1st, y'all. I feel like I have been in transition since like 2016, like for sure. That's when I started bartending. For example, like I switched careers in 2016. Like I made a very conscious choice to embark on a new journey after doing massage. I went into massage school in 2006. So yeah, so like for 10 years I was massage, and then I went into bartending. So that was a huge transition. But it had been something that I kind of circle back to. Like I always feel like my transitions are cyclical. Like I get an idea to do a thing, and then like whatever happens or doesn't happen, and then like life circles back and it's like, oh no, now I'm for real finna do the thing. Like,
yeah.
like pursuing online business, like in my early 20s, like 23, 24, and then being like 33 now, being like, I miss online business. Like there were so many things about it that like spoke to me as a person, like being your own boss, the most Aquarius shit ever. And being able to manage your time and being able to create a thing, and you're responsible for getting that thing in front of people. And now, like, as I am in this new career and I'm seeing new kind of holes, because that's just how my brain works. It's like, what could be better about this? Like, what are my challenges, and are they ultimately challenges for other people? So now I'm still like in this new thing, but also still circling back to being like, but online business, there has to be an opportunity to make a course of some sort for an online business. But I feel like I'm in transformation now, where all of that stuff was leading up to, that was all of the gathering of the materials to build my cocoon. And now I am cocooning. Like there's still little patches here and there. So like catch me in the summer. I don't know what's going to be like, but like I'm much more into like flourishing, I feel, where a lot of the last 3 years, maybe even 4, I don't want to think that far back, is traumatic, but thinking about,
I agree. I agree. It's traumatic.
It's, oh my Lord. But like putting things together and getting things in place and learning to trust the timing, like that's been the lesson of the last year and a half, at least, is trust the timing and not feel behind is a big one. Because it's so funny when I talk to people who are even just 40 and I'm like, oh, they're like, how old are you? 33. Like, oh, you got time. But then you look at somebody like a Marseille Martin who's 14 and you're like, yo,
I know. I'm like, man, what?
Do I have time? You sure that's not a lie? But also, trust the timing. You have to trust that your life experiences, the way they have been lived, were important to be grounding in what is coming for you next. Like, especially if you're a person that believes in having a purpose and living in your purpose, that there were some things that you needed to experience, some things you needed to see, some people you needed to meet, some situations you needed to get into before you could really do the thing that you're called to do. So
yes,
it's been a journey. It has been some time. Let me have some scotch thinking about it. Ooh, Lord.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And that's because there are so many messages from outside of us about, oh, you should be here and you should be like, some video, I don't know if you shared it or somebody, but it was probably like a year ago, where the guy was like, oh, well, if you meet a woman and she's 32 and she ain't married, there's something wrong with her. And I'm like, what? And then the lady stood up and she was like, or blah, 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 because she's worried, she's focusing on herself and she's making a life for herself and she's got her own job and she's like bought her own house and has her own car. And what do you have? Like, I'm paraphrasing. That might not be what she said, but it was in that same vein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, people will come at you with these messages about all the ways that you're doing life wrong. And you're just like, I just want to live, you know, and all these like, and it's also, we're millennials, and there are things that are actually harder for us now than they were for, you know, our predecessors
Mm-hmm.
who, you know, maybe in some ways had certain things handed to them. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
You know,
so, maybe. You know, or, you know, they could get a job and buy a house and build a family on that job that they got out of high school. And it's like, now you're getting out of college with a master's, you can't get shit. You could go back and live in your parents' basement or something, you know? So with all these messages, it is hard to be able to like pause it. We internalize it as like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, I'm behind. And we need to work more on letting those things go, because those things end up getting coupled with feelings of shame. Mm-hmm. And you can't operate in a flourishing way from a place of shame. Mm-hmm. You operate from a place of power.
That's very, very, very real. That hits very, very close to home. As in, part of my transition has been working through feelings of guilt and shame, and like various ways that, like, I've been saying, like, these are useless emotions, because people are like, well, you know, if you feel guilty, you might it's like, I don't want to change out of guilt, though. I want to change because I realized I did something, I caused harm, and as a person who wants to, you know, live with integrity, that I want to apologize, not because I feel guilty. And especially like knowing how many relationships I have stuck around for, romantic or not, like not even talking about romantic partners, how many times you've put yourself out there because of guilt or shame. And it wasn't coming from an authentic place. It was coming from guilt or shamefulness. And going forward, when you're trying to embody your dreams, you know, you're trying to step out, like a conversation we were having earlier about expert enough, you know. Mm-hmm. So how often have you stopped yourself from pursuing a venture, an opportunity, whatever, because you didn't feel like you were ready for it, you weren't expert enough? Like, if somebody reached out to you even and was like, oh, I would like you to come and do something, it's like, oh, well, maybe you should ask somebody else, you know, I'm not as experienced in that as what. Like, somebody will literally reach out to you because they think you're a good fit
to hand you an opportunity,
and you're too busy feeling like, oh, I'm not expert enough, I don't know enough, I don't know what to say, blah blah blah. And that, operating from that place, has no place in the future that I'm building. Not that they won't ever, those feelings won't ever circle back. Like I said,
yeah, they will. But operating from there is
something
like,
I am
you
no
can
longer
recognize
doing.
Yeah, you can recognize, just like fear, like you can recognize that you are feeling fear, mm-hmm. and then be like, okay, but I'm not going to let this make my decision. How can I make a decision in an empowering way? And that doesn't necessarily mean ignoring the fear. It doesn't necessarily mean pretending that it's not there. But when you learn how to recognize it, you can actually say, like, all right, I see this. I see you.
Hey, fear, you.
But I'm going to do this. Yeah, but I'm going to do this because this is what serves my flourishing.
Yes. True. So like I said, I'm in transition right now. I'm in transition and transformation. It's a headache.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you feel like you are currently also too in this cycle?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And it's funny because I think I'm starting to realize now that, like, you're never really out of transition. You just go from one transition into another transition.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I am currently in transition in a lot of ways.
How do you feel like, let's do the 10-year challenge. How do you feel like from 23 to 33, your ability to kind of, I guess, like roll with the punches, or to even notice, instead of, because I feel like transition used to feel more like challenges,
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger than they do now is, okay, this is just kind of the ebb and flow of life. Like, to get to a new place, you got to go through some new shit. So like from 23 to now, like how's your outlook? How do you deal with transition? How has that changed? If it has.
Wow. 23.
It went that long
I'm just
ago.
like, no, but I'm thinking like 23, I'm immediately thinking about black belt testing.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was just like, was that the first time? Like, the first time I tested was actually going out of 23 into 24, which was my worst year, was 24, as you know.
I was there.
Yes, you were there. So, wow, monumentally better. Like then everything felt like, you know, like the world was falling apart. Like it was all very emotional, and I mean it was totally different circumstances, so there's that, but it all felt like, you know, like the world is falling apart and it has to work out the way I want, or oh my god, everything's over or something, you know. And it's like now I'm just like, all right, well, let's see how this pans out. And more like in that time, I've definitely let go of being sure that things are going, not just, oh, I'm sure things are going to turn out the way I want, but sure that things are going to turn out, or that the way things turn out are going to happen the way I expected them to. Mm-hmm. You know, so like last year when I'm like, man, what I want to do, I got clarity, and I was like, what I really want to do is have like a multimedia company that does film production, does music production, does all these different things in these different arenas, and centers and highlights Black and other POC voices in creative work. I'm like, that's what I want to do. You know, I was like, and that's not exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm making these little videos and I'm coaching, but I wasn't doing that. And I'm like, I know that that's in my future. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but that's somewhere in my future. And now I started mapping things out. And then in like May, June is when I came across Tressa Azrael Smallwood, listening to a podcast. And I was like, man, I really want to learn from her. Like, how can I, and you might remember, because I came out of the room and I was listening to the podcast. I'm like, dude, I want to learn from this person. I want to learn everything. She built this film production company from the ground up, and she does feature films, and I want to learn from her. And I'm like, how do I do that? You know? And so I ended up making like a video and sending her an email, and now I'm working for her, you know? And so like I'm going to be, you know, on set all of April on this next film that we're doing. And that's something I totally didn't see happening. You know, like in the beginning of the year when I got the idea, it wasn't like, okay, this is how it has to happen. It was just like, I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm going to keep moving in the direction of what feels like serves my flourishing, mm-hmm. and moves me more and more towards the things that I want to be doing. And that happened, and I jumped on it. And so it's like immediately after that, like at the end of August, when I finally, like when it was like, okay, we want you to like come work for us, I was like, wow, this kind of accelerated my plan a little bit. Like I had no idea it was going to come out this way. So like letting go of the idea that the outcome that you're looking for, you can really, really believe in that outcome, but the way you think it's going to happen might be totally different than what's in your head. And letting that go, because when you let that go, you actually open yourself up to the opportunities that are coming to you. You know, like I could have seen that or listened to that and been like, oh, you know what? I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to bookmark that. I'm going to keep it in mind for in 2 years when I feel like I'm in a better place for it. And I was just like, no, I should just do this now. I should contact her now, mm-hmm. you know? And that created an opportunity where now I am in the film industry. Like I have an IMDb and everything, you know? So when you let that go, you open yourself up to different opportunities, and the different like signals or things that might come at you that are like, move forward, jump on this, ask this person for help, take this person's help that they're offering.
Ooh, those are so big. first of all, shout out to you for shooting your shot. Like, and not only did you shoot your shot, the way you shot your shot, and how Tressa herself was just like, you know, I have people email me all the time, but like yours stood out. Like that. And not, I don't want people to internalize that as like, you gotta bedazzle it and bejazzle it. I mean, you can bejazzle your bejazzler if you want to, but
yeah, go right ahead.
it's yours. I'm not gonna tell you what you do with your body. But like, you don't have to necessarily be trying to wow somebody. Like, I really feel like sincerity shines through a lot. Like, I write essays, right? That's how I get into the bar programs that I've gotten accepted into. I have to write essays. So there is no opportunity for me to send a video or whatever. Like, I have to, on the strength of why I'm applying, which is why I don't apply to everything, I have to just go and do the best that I can with the medium I got, which are words, and just get through, or try to get through the passion that I have for the industry, the passion that I have for my place in the industry, and why I want to do it. And I had somebody, he was not trying to be offensive when he asked, but was like, so when you get in these programs, it's just because, you know, people know you, or you're just are you good at like writing and convincing people? And I'm like, so you just asked me if I either get in because people know me, so I get in on clout or whatever, name recognition, or
nepotism.
Or am I getting in because I can like jive time people on paper? Like, not, can you help me? Do you have any pointers for essays? Like, what is it about your essays do you think that people really respond well to? It was just basically like, how are you gaming the system that you keep getting into these things? And I'm like I said, I started bartending. I started bar backing in 2016. I didn't start bartending until 2017. And then like for real, like bar, like having a full bar to like do the mixology until 2018. So it's like right out the gate, I knew that this is something I wanted to be and wanted to do. So it cycled back again. And I think helping, like being 30, I knew that like what I wanted to do with my life. And I knew that I needed to do something that was going to line up with who I am as a person and my values. And so I just poured all of that sincerity into the essays of things that I wanted to do. And like, I didn't get everything, but I got most of the stuff I applied for. Like, yeah, that's not a humble brag, because I don't really believe in humble brags. Like I got into the shit because
I'm like, what the fuck is a humble brag?
Like, no, I it's just a truth. Like, I did the thing. I told the truth in my essays, and of course you're like nervous. You're like, oh, maybe I should. But I was just like, if you don't want me the way I'm coming at you right now, then you don't want me.
Yeah.
And that has worked well for me. And like with you and Tressa, like, first of all, the courage to actually apply for the thing that you want. Like, the wisdom to be like, you know what? It's not about being ready, so to speak, or I don't need this in 2 years. The wisdom to be like, no, I want to learn from her. I have this dream. It aligns with this dream. So the wisdom to be able to decipher that, and then the courage to actually shoot your shot. Like, she could have not responded. She could have responded like, hey, nah. And like, that was,
I mean, a week went by and I was like, oh, okay, I guess she's not interested. And the next day after that, she called me. She called me on her actual personal cell phone and left me a message. I was like, this executive producer is interested in talking to me. Oh my God. Like, yeah.
It's like, I don't even answer numbers I don't know. And here she tells me, I'm like, I got your email. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But
I was excited. I was much excited.
Much excited. But like, you know, that requires its own like particular like calling out and like appreciation for actually putting yourself out there. Because a lot of people, present company included, that's a stumbling block. Because especially because like I'm in a new industry and I'm still I tell people all the time, I'm still a baby bartender. So it's like the more you put yourself out there, the more you open yourself up into showcasing what you don't know. And especially as you get older, that gets harder because
Yeah.
people expect you to know, or people don't have time or whatever. But I've found it to be more liberating the more I lean into like, girl, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
not
And
trying to
that's how I
pretend like I
approached it, because
know.
when we started, she was like, I think this will be good for you doing these things, because then you're going to be able to see all the different parts. And she's like, I want to teach you these different things. Or like she would send me something and be like, hey, I'm sending this to you because I want you to see how this is done. Not like because there was something necessarily for me to do in that task, but she's like, I want you to see what this looks like because you're going to need it later, you know, on the next project. And I was like, whew, I'm learning.
I'm learning.
I'm learning, but I wasn't trying to like fake the funk, like, ooh, I got all this experience that I don't have.
Right.
That's bad. Don't do that.
And I think it's so important to, like, you positioned yourself in your 30s to be a student to somebody. You know, like, a lot of people stay in their careers or whatever their chosen path is because you don't want to start from scratch. But like I have transferable skills from a decade of massage. I have transferable skills from 33 years of life. You know, it's not, starting from scratch is not as terrifying as people think it is.
Yeah.
Because we don't do it. Like, you know, if you stay in your same job or within your same field, you're on the same path. Like, you don't have to really look at anything from the beginner's perspective and then actually take an inventory of the skills that you do have or the situations that you've already been in that look similar to the one you find yourself in now. You just kind of keep going. I want to say forward, but for a lot of people, it's laterally, if we're being honest. Like, you just keep doing the same shit, not necessarily moving forward, but you don't feel like you're moving backwards. And when people get to that point where they want to transition out of something and into something else, a lot of the well-intentioned feedback that you get is like, well, do you want to start something new right now? And you're like,
yeah,
that's literally the only way to do this. Like,
yeah, that's the only way. Like, what do you mean right now? Like, am I growing a human being and I shouldn't start it right now? Am I like,
right?
Like, what? Am I homeless and I shouldn't start it right now?
And
Like,
even so,
what is?
in those, it's like people, like, we
And
love
that's not
these
necessarily a
feels
reason not to, but it's like, what?
but we
Like,
love
when
these
exactly are you supposed to start from scratch?
we love these feel-good stories of people who are homeless who overcome. We love these
Yep.
people, these stories of women who are, you know, single mothers, or who maybe, oh, I'm so, like, part of why Serena Williams is so impressive is that she was pregnant when she won the Australian Open. Like, we love these stories when it works out for people that we don't know. But when it comes to our intimate relationships with people, we a lot of the time transfer our fear of, I don't think I would be able to do that, but it reads as love and care to that. Like, we care for this person, so we don't want you to be in a situation where you can't, you know, feed your family. It's like, how about help me find out a way to still make money while I'm transitioning? How about,
Yes.
you know, be of help, like, be part of my support system, not necessarily financially, but like, you got time to watch my kids. So, like, maybe you have time to, if I buy the groceries, you love to cook and you cook all the time anyway. What if I just buy more groceries, and when you cook for your family, you cook for mine, so I get that time back? But like, we are all so indoctrinated in having the one thing that you do, and you do it forever until you retire and then you die, that when people start talking about changing careers, or even just changing jobs, it's like, well, you make so much money at that job, you know, it took you so long to find someplace close to home. Like, we will give you 162 reasons to stay, and it's so rare to find somebody be like, oh no, you should fucking leave. Ta-da! Oh no, did you freeze? I think you're frozen. I thought you were riveted, but you're frozen. I'm over here thinking I'm talking that good stuff, y'all. Oh, wait. Indeed. Also, I'll read the other comments. Oh, Carlos, that's so sweet. Let's see if I can get her back, guys. Maybe I can get my co-host back. Do 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 do. Approved. There we go. She's coming back.
Hey, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Somebody was calling me right then, and I'm like, don't do that. No.
That I was like, I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb. Oh, let's just get through this.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, my bad. But sometimes
Whatever.
when I put on do not disturb, it still comes through, and I'm like, what the fuck are you for? Like, what kind of functionality are you for if it's not that? So, my bad.
No, you're fine. But yeah, I finished my thought while you were gone, and like the face that froze on the screen, I was just like, oh, I'm saying things that are hitting home. I'm like, no, she's frozen.
my shocked face. That was like,
oh.
no, someone's calling. I could hear you. I just couldn't. I was just frozen. I could hear you, but I was frozen. Anyways.
Well, here we are. But yeah, that's what I had to say about that. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. And I had a thought on that, and then somebody called and I lost it. Yeah, it was, I don't remember.
That's real. That's tight. Okay. Well, I don't know. Because somebody called and you froze and I panicked.
I know. I'm going to say, I actually have like I guess a bit of advice when it comes to recognizing that transitions happen or that you're in a transition. Yes. And I think one thing that really helps with that really helped me is getting really, really clear on what it is that you actually want in your life. Mm-hmm. Because mm-hmm. that becomes the through line to everything else that's happening. So last year, post medical crises, I was like, cool, everything's shit and everything's a mess, and I feel like I have no idea how to get my shit back together because everything got derailed. And I was like, all right, well, what is it that I really want? So, I have this exercise where you get like super, super, super clear. You just take a few mm-hmm. minutes to like really feel into, like imagine your life in like 10 years or something, 5-10 years. And really like picturing like, what are you doing? How do you feel? How do you relate to people? Even like what you're wearing, just like all of that, but like as if it's happening right now, and really immerse yourself in the feeling of it and all the different things, all the different parts of it. And then writing everything down, but like writing it down as if it's the case. Not like I want or I will or I'm going to, but like I just closed whatever deal. I have, if you want a family, it's like I have my family, I have this in my family. I go on vacation regularly, or I just stepped off the plane in Greece, and so really, really getting clear about that, because when you get clear about what you want to bring into your life, your mm-hmm. everyday actions can start aligning towards that vision. So it's like, it's something that I didn't just do once. It's something that like I would do it like a really big vision. And then every day I would do like 5 minutes of getting in that vision, and it would adjust. And every day it starts to adjust. It starts to refine mm-hmm. based on where I am and where I'm going. And so what it looks like now is different than what it looked like a year ago, and that's okay. That's why you do it regularly, even if it's not every day, even if it's once a week. That's why you do it regularly, so that you can adjust based on whatever's going on for you, or what's shifting for you, or what's opening up for you, what's transitioning for you, and you can align your actions through your everyday or through your week to move you towards that vision. And that's something that really, really helped me, because even as things were a mess, I was like, you know what? But I still have this vision. I still have this thing I'm creating, and I'm going to keep moving toward it. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to keep going in that direction. So I think, yeah, that's something that is really, I feel like not enough of us do it. And we get stuck in like the everyday grind and the hamster wheel, and not taking enough time. Like you have to have both. Like, you can't just dream big and not take action.
Right.
But you can't take action without thinking about what you really want, because then where your action's going. Like, before you know it, you're like 10 years into a shit job that you don't like, and a shit marriage with somebody that you never liked, that you just stayed with because it was convenient. You know, I mean, not that everybody's life goes like that, but you know, this is how you end up in some of these stuck places, is because you weren't looking, you were doing, but you were doing, and you're like walking down the path like this, and before you know it, you're in a totally different forest. Like, what the fuck? I thought it was on a beach. How the hell did I get here? You know, and like, you got to look ahead, and then you got to figure out the actions. You got to look ahead, and you got to figure out the actions. You have to have both. You can't. I mean, you could have one without the other, but you're not gonna end up happy.
That's real, because part of my transition out to here is because I felt like I was spinning my wheels in Chicago for various fucking reasons. And it was hard for me to really visualize where I would be, not even where I wanted to be, where I would be in 3 years with all things being equal. And of course, there are things that you could change, but I had been feeling the need to leave home for years before I actually left. And immediately, once I made the decision, I started to, like, clarity was so much easier for me to get, because I wasn't holding on to something that was no longer serving me. Like, Chicago was always going to be home. I was never afraid of that. It was, I can't, because I'm not ready. I don't have the money to move. I don't have a job to move, all of this stuff, and an opportunity to move despite those things came up. And of course I took it, because I am a leaper. I will jump at an opportunity. Because like, what happens? You fail? Okay.
We fail all the time anyway. Like, failure is inevitable. So,
and that's why you have to define success for yourself, because to me, the failure would have been staying miserable.
Yes. Home. Oh my God. Yes.
And you know what? Failure.
And you're like a flow, you know, like you said, you're like I'm going to jump and go with the flow. And I would say less so now, but like more, you know, 10 years ago, if you want to do that, 20, when I was 23, like, the idea of failure was like this horrendous, like, oh my God. And, you know, and it had to do with all this deeper, you're not worthy stuff that was going on. And so it's like this idea of like failure is less scary to me. Now it's like, before it was like, failure means this about me as a person, you know, and now it's more like, okay, is failure going to mean I can't pay my rent? Like, that's the things that I'm concerned with, is like, can I pay my bills? Will I be able to get groceries? You know, it's about like, how is this going to affect, not like what it says about me. Like, everybody fails. And if you're not failing, you're probably not leaping hard enough or far enough, or like, you're like not stretching yourself at all if you're not failing at all. It's part of it, and it builds character, you know? So yeah.
I think also, even more than what it affects, because I am a leaper and I am so much my father's child in this, that you can always come back home, is one of those things where it's like, not even will it affect my ability to pay rent. You can get rent. You could, like, money is out there to get. Or maybe you can't get rent and you have to go back home and start over. But like, I would much rather have the experience, and not just like, oh, I went backpacking around Europe and now I gotta, you know, shine shoes in Grand Central Station for money. But like, maybe that is somebody's version of success, because they have unattached themselves to these things that were actually detrimental to their mental and spiritual health. Maybe just having a room and shining shoes is actually their steez. Like, maybe that's where they needed to be happy. for me, like,
Yeah.
moving, my biggest challenge, and it took me a while to actually feel that because I had to feel it, was being bereft of my community that I've had for so long and trying to build new community. That hasn't been a challenge, but it's like I was building new community while still in my original community, like all of my high school friends that have been there since I was 14. Um, and like nobody, I can't just call somebody, be like, hey, you want to go grab a drink? Or I can't just pop up on somebody. Like I have put myself physically outside of being able to reach that community. And honestly, that's probably what I needed, because I don't have to show up as any like old version of Trinette. Like I just get to go and make new experiences and meet new people, even though like right now it's not necessarily about meeting new people, it's about meeting myself in new places. So the push to get outside of my community is the thing I am struggling with the most, because I left a lot of people I love in Chicago, but I'm very excited to meet Trinette wherever she's going to be at from here out. Now that I kind of ripped the bandage off, like now I'm out here. Like that's why I do want to work in a more metropolitan area, because I'm a fast-paced person. So I need fast-paced shit to be popping. I need to be in a space where I can be challenged mentally, and realizing all of those things and my need for them, I feel like completely shifted my idea of failure. Like it also, in shifting my idea of failure, shifted my idea of what I'm capable of. And it dealt a very hard blow to the fear I have around my own greatness. And Gifted Kids, shout out to that. Like, what? Like, you're afraid of being great? Up my whole ass life, really. But yeah, it dealt a huge blow to that. And just being like, it's okay. Not only is it okay, you are doing a disservice to yourself by not showing up as the greatest version of you. And the reason that you've experienced failures thus far is because you've done everything you could to not show up as you fully. And those moments that I've experienced my greatest personal successes are those moments when I show up completely myself. But there's so much messaging, and there has been so much conditioning my whole life around why my light is too bright and like it's dimming other people's, and that's never been the case. But you know, you internalize that shit. And so now I'm like, I'm in my Jesus year, motherfuckers. Watch out. Like I am about to make some shit happen, and it's going to make me very happy. And I am very okay with that. I'm excited about it. I'm thrilled instead of afraid. I mean, fear still comes up, you know. Hello, darkness, my old friend. But it changed everything about the transition itself and how I feel about transitioning and being in transition.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you got any closing thoughts, parting shots?
Embrace it. I want to go with that one. Embrace it. Because here's the thing. So actually, yes, I want to talk about Saturn return, which we are both past.
We made
but
it.
Our man-panions aren't.
Nigga, we made
it. Yeah. So for those of you who are around the 28, 29, 30 range.
Into 31.
So your Saturn return, which is like this period where basically everything about the way you've been operating gets challenged because it's not serving you anymore. And so some people, and we can even take it outside of the context of Saturn return, but when it comes to transitions and big transitions, there are people who fight that and they're like, no, and I'm going to keep doing it the way I've been doing it because that's how it's worked. even though it's not working right now. And actually, when I think about it, it probably wasn't working before. And they fight and fight and fight, and it like blows up in their face. And then they get through it, and they're still operating the same way, and they're like miserable now. And so now you've created this like homeostasis of unhappiness because you weren't willing to actually shift through transition. And didn't get to any of the things that you wanted to do because that your transition was pushing you towards. Transitions are there for, like, they're happening for a reason. They're happening for a shift. This is a shift in your evolution. And so you embrace the transition, embrace that things are changing, that things are shifting, and feel into, okay, how can I flow with this? How can I ride this transition and use it to get where I'm going? How can I shift things to get where I'm going? And understand that, like, sometimes you got to let things go. That might be people, it might be a project, it might be the way that you're used to doing things, but embrace the transition because the transition is there for you. It's happening for you. It's not happening to you, you know? And so when you fight it, you are making things worse.
Yes.
You are making things worse. I really want to think of like a metaphor, but the image that's in my head is like super, super weird. So I'm not sure if I should go with it. But I'm going to go with it anyway. So let's say that you're in the doorway of a room, right? And the room is full of foam.
Okay.
Like gooey foam, right? And you're in the doorway and you're like, no, foam, don't leave. And you're like trying to mush the foam in and you're trying to keep it in, and the foam's just going to keep pushing out until eventually it just knocks you over and just bowls over you. And you're like, oh my God, I'm suffocating in this foam. I'm drowning. That's what it's like when you fight a transition. If you were like, oh, you know, so why don't you come on this way? And let's figure out how we can adjust this other room to fit you so you can flow. You know, you wouldn't have foam all over your ass. It's a very strange image, but it's what came to my mind.
I mean, it works because if you stand in the doorway, foam is still going to eke around you. It's still going to escape the room.
Exactly.
And if you don't fight it, you can look, maybe the foam is leaving, and in the middle is everything you wanted. But you were so busy trying to keep the foam in, the foam being your old friends, your old job, some of your family members that you need to let the fuck go,
your old beliefs
that you need to let the fuck go, like all of that shit. You so busy trying to keep in a room, not realizing that it leaves behind the thing that you actually want, the thing that really does serve you to your best and highest good. So I fucks with it. That's what I'm saying. My parting shot would be the old adage: when you say yes, you're saying no to something. And when you say no, you're saying yes to other things. Because when you're in transition, like, once again, saying yes to your limiting beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of says no to your dreams. It says no to this new place you're supposed to be at. It says no. But when you start saying yes and making choices to believe in what's happening for you, it gets a lot easier to say no to those other things. And you get to a point where you start not having to say no because you're just operating different. But it's the growth process is what a lot of people are afraid of. Those first couple ouchies that you experience turn a lot of people off. And I get it because shit, I have done it. Like, this is not an outside looking in. This is an outside looking out, looking back, being like, yeah, I went through that. Like, still, sometimes it's easier to say yes to the fear. But I'm saying yes to the ideas that I have. I'm saying yes to the new vision for my life. And it does mean saying no to certain things I do want to do that are not necessarily bad, but you have to focus on the thing that you picked. And a lot of saying no to, like, the old systems in which I was operating. So,
oof, yeah. I feel that. I mean, I had to let go of a whole community, so.
That's real. Do you have a one thing for this week?
A one thing. I am going to go with buy Black. Support Black businesses. So I was at a conference last weekend. It was the Power Her Women's Conference, first annual, that was here in Chicago, that I didn't know anything about until I came across it on Instagram and was like, yeah, it's in Chicago. It sounds great. And it was 50% off too. But there they had all these vendors that were, you know, like Black business owners. So I had this this whipped shea butter, super luxurious,
creamy.
Yeah, and I needed something to carry like in my bag, and because I can't carry like a thing of mango butter or shea butter. So you know, support Black businesses and buy Black, because we have a massive amount of buying power, actually. And when we actually direct that toward ourselves, we uplift our own community.
Okay. What's the name of the vendor that you got your whipped butter from?
All Buttered Up. This one is vanilla. So All Buttered Up, based in Indian Head, Illinois. Joliet Road, Indian Head, Illinois.
Yeah. I'm sure they're probably on the internet if y'all type that into the Google.
Yes, that. I bought some jewelry. That was paparazzi. But the one who is the woman who was selling it was Black. And then also a purse that was like an African print purse. I wish I had it up here. It's not. It's downstairs. But it's like this cute clutch. And it's super cute. And it was by, I think it was Engine Threads. I'm like waiting to be able to like get a picture with it so I could tag them on Instagram. I want to be one of those people tagging Black businesses on Instagram. So yeah, Engine Threads. I believe it was Engine Threads, but really, really cute stuff. There were some other ones too. Like I was like grabbing business cards from everybody. So yeah.
Nice. I'm into that. My one thing goes back to a conversation that we had earlier of stop making people jump through hoops for you. Especially if they're just hoops that you have for yourself. Like if somebody wants to step out on the good foot and pursue something, don't hit them with the like, well, what makes you an expert? Because the markers we have for what makes people experts are usually based, like everything else, in traditions. And the traditions that we have come to accept as a culture are usually based in white supremacist patriarchal nonsense. It is nonsense. When somebody decides that they have, and of course I'm talking about people who know what the fuck they're talking about. That should go without saying, but some of y'all like to act like you don't understand things. But if somebody has decided that they, for example, I'll just put myself out there, as a new bartender, coming in and being trained by people and coming into spaces, I've noticed a lot of ways that we could be better at training people who are new to this industry, who are new to the craft behind the bar, but also ways that the management styles in general are just based in white supremacist nonsense. So I've been like, I'm trying to learn myself and get better at bartending, putting a curriculum of study together for myself, just because based off of my own experiences and based off of talking to other people, I want to be better at my job as a working bartender. If I decide to share that with somebody else, it's really close to me because I am a new bartender experiencing these things. If somebody who's been bartending for 20 years and you've been in management for 15 of those, it is farther removed from you to even remember what the fuck I'm talking about. And also, bartending 15 years ago looks a lot different than it does now. And one of the things that, of course, the infernal internal editor in your mind is like, well, you've only been doing this for so long. Like, how are you an expert on this? And I'm like, I am uniquely positioned, in fact, to talk about this thing. Mm-hmm. But when other people don't feel comfortable to speak their truths sometimes, or are uncomfortable with your truth, they will put you through the ringer to prove why you're okay to say something, to prove why you get to speak on something. And you have to be strong within yourself and your own understanding of your experience and honest about where you're coming from. Like, don't be out here pretending like you're coming from someplace that you aren't. If you are authentically representing yourself and your perspective, you are the expert on that. You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist. You don't have to have this degree to talk about something that you know intimately and personally and have done the work to be able to present to people. So stop trying to like it's not like even like stop trying to make people perform for you, essentially, is what you're saying. Like, you are the ringleader of this circus, and what makes you an elephant? Let me see them tusks. Let me see that trunk. Like, no, bitch. Like, I'm not performing for you. I am strong enough in what I'm doing. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. If you don't like it, why don't you do something? You don't even have to shit on me or mention me at all. You can go do your own thing. Or if you see somebody who's doing what I'm doing that you believe them more, or you think that they're a better expert or source of learning, point them out, boost them up, signal boost them. But like, don't feel like you are in a position to shit on somebody else's dream or shit on somebody else's expertise or their truth because you feel like they haven't paid their dues. That's a whole other conversation about paying your dues we're not going to get into right now, but just be mindful that nobody owes you shit and that people are allowed to speak authentically for themselves, and it doesn't have to be something that you like or be something that you relate to, but they're allowed to, and they don't have to quantify or qualify it for you.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
All right. I feel that.
Clearly I do. So, all right, y'all. That is this episode of In Pursuit of Black Excellence. Please share this out.
Yes,
so people who need
share.
to hear this, see this, can do that. You can watch the replay on our page. We'll both share it out. Where can the people find you, ma'am?
You can find me on the Instagram at Kristin Iris, KRISTINIRIS, and also on my website, KristinIris.com, and on my podcast, Melanated Rising, which is on iTunes and Spotify.
Oots, oots, oots. Go subscribe, y'all. Go follow on Spotify. If you want to hire me for jingles, like, I'm into that.
Oh, she'd be really good at that, though, for real. Like, if you want to hire her for jingles, she'll be your jingle master.
As original comps coming out of everywhere. You can find me on Instagram at black_Tina, TEENA_Marie. You can also find the show at Pursuing Black Excellence. That is all together, no underscores. You can also find us here on the Book of Faces at In Pursuit of Black Excellence. Go and like the page as well after you share out this video, or before. I don't need to dictate your order to you, but that's where you can find us.
Thank you guys for watching.
Enjoy your weekends. Bye.
Bye.